the alert in your morning coffee. You probably start your day with coffee. Hot, fragrant, comforting. The same coffee that has been with you for decades, maybe even before you retired. But what many people over 60 don't realize is that this simple morning habit can become the turning point between a balanced metabolism and completely out of control blood sugar. I'm Dr. Richard Hale, a cardiologist trained at Harvard and the Mayo Clinic, and today I'm going to show you something that might change the way you see your everyday coffee. Because with just a small addition, something natural, accessible and proven, it's possible to stabilize glucose almost immediately, reducing sugar spikes and protecting your heart at the same time. But before I continue, tell me one thing in the comments. How old are you and what city are you watching me from now? This helps me understand how far this message is reaching, and mainly to know if the older audience is still willing to take care of their bodies intelligently and without miraculous promises. The truth is that blood sugar is like a sea, sometimes calm, sometimes rough. When it rises too quickly, right after that white bread, that very sweet fruit, or even that coffee with refined sugar, your body reacts with a silent tsunami of insulin. And this wave, over the years, begins to wear down the vessels, strain the pancreas, and compromise the heart. That's why so many elderly people feel tired right after breakfast. The sugar rises too much, and then plummets, leaving the body in a cycle of constant fatigue. But what almost no one has told you is that there is something natural that can be added to coffee, something that modifies this entire internal reaction. It's not a medication, nor a miraculous powder sold in advertisements. It's a simple compound. But when mixed with hot coffee, it acts directly on the absorption of glucose and the insulin response. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain exactly how the body processes sugar, why this becomes more dangerous with age, and what this natural substance does to interrupt the process at the right point before the pancreas collapses. You'll understand what happens inside your body, cell by cell, when coffee meets this ingredient. You'll discover why, in elderly people, the same food can cause an avalanche of sugar, while in others it goes unnoticed. And most importantly, you'll learn how to transform your coffee into a metabolic shield, a small morning ritual that can protect not only glucose, but also the heart, kidneys, and mind. So if you're over 60, stay with me until the end. Because maybe the answer you've been looking for years isn't in a new diet, nor in an expensive medicine, but in a simple cup of coffee. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what happens inside the body of an elderly person when coffee meets sugar, and why a single ingredient can change everything. The body after 60. Coffee no longer acts as before. Over the years, the body changes profoundly, and what once seemed harmless, like a simple cup of sweetened coffee, begins to provoke much more intense reactions. Aging is not just the accumulation of time, it's also the accumulation of small slowness within each cell. When you reach 60, the metabolism becomes less efficient, the liver works more slowly, and the pancreas, the organ responsible for releasing insulin, begins to lose part of its agility. Imagine the body as a large orchestra. At 30, each instrument responds at the right time, creating a perfect symphony. But after 60, some instruments begin to lag, others go out of tune. Digestion becomes slower, the blood takes longer to transport nutrients, and sugar, which was once easily controlled, begins to accumulate in the blood for longer than it should. Coffee, in this scenario, functions as an amplifier. Caffeine stimulates the nervous system, accelerates the heart, and awakens the metabolism, which is great for maintaining energy. But when combined with sugar, it turns into a dangerous trigger. Caffeine makes the body release glucose stored in the liver, while refined sugar adds even more glucose to the blood. The result is a double spike, a rapid and aggressive increase in blood sugar first thing in the morning. And here's the problem. The elderly body can no longer respond to this spike with the same efficiency. The cells become more resistant to insulin, and the pancreas, worn out, needs to work twice as hard to try to normalize the sugar level. This repetitive effort, day after day, creates a cycle of metabolic fatigue. It's as if your body starts the day running a marathon before you even get out of your chair. That's why many elderly people report subtle symptoms that go unnoticed. Lightheadedness, blurred vision, drowsiness after breakfast, palpitations, or a feeling of energy crash around 10 a.m. These are not signs of age, as many believe. They are signs of glycemic instability. The sugar rises, the body reacts with excess insulin, and then the sugar plummets. Over time, this continuous up and down affects the blood vessels. The sweeter blood is thicker, sticks to the walls of the capillaries, and hinders circulation. This overloads the heart, which needs to pump harder. And this constant effort is one of the reasons why so many elderly people develop hypertension, arrhythmias, and even silent heart failure. But there's good news. Small adjustments in the way the body receives coffee can completely modify this response. When coffee is combined with certain natural substances, which act in the intestine and slow down the absorption of glucose, the impact on the blood decreases almost instantly. It's like putting a filter between the sugar and your blood. And the most fascinating thing is that, in recent studies, it was observed that the same coffee that previously raised glucose can, with the right ingredient, help stabilize it. The secret lies in the order and combination of the elements. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what the most common mistake people make in the morning, believing they are taking care of their health, but which is actually sabotaging the pancreas. And the worst part, it's often a mistake that seems healthy. In the next block, I'm going to reveal the most repeated myth among elderly people about coffee and sugar, and why it has delayed the glucose control of millions of people. The myth of healthy coffee, that deregulates your glucose for years. You've heard that coffee was an ally of metabolism, that it accelerates the body, burns fat, keeps the mind active. And in parts that's true, but the problem is in how and with what this coffee is consumed. The great myth that deceives millions of elderly people every day is that coffee, by itself, is enough to balance the body, regardless of what is added to it. What few realize is that coffee, although it has antioxidant and stimulating properties, is a vehicle. It enhances the effect of everything that comes with it: sugar, sweetener, milk, cinnamon, butter, creams, supplements, and even medications. And when the body is already more sensitive, as happens after 60, this amplifying effect becomes an invisible risk. Let's go to a simple example. Imagine an elderly person who wakes up, prepares coffee, and adds a generous spoonful of refined sugar. He thinks, it's just a little bit, it doesn't hurt. But what he doesn't see is what happens inside the body in the following minutes. The refined sugar is absorbed in seconds, goes straight into the bloodstream, and the pancreas in panic releases a wave of insulin to try to contain the excess. This quick response leaves the blood like a roller coaster. It goes up, plummets, and, in a few hours, the body feels hungry, tired, and irritable again. And even those who exchange sugar for sweetener, believing they are doing something better, often fall into another deception. Some artificial sweeteners deceive the brain, stimulating the production of insulin, even without real sugar in the blood. The result is almost the same. The body goes on alert, and the metabolism becomes disorganized. But the most dangerous myth of all is that of functional coffee. Products sold as thermogenics that accelerate metabolism or regulate sugar usually contain combinations of caffeine in excess, oils, and compounds that can overload the liver and heart. For a young body, it may be bearable. For an elderly person, it's a time bomb. In my years of clinical practice, I've seen many patients come to the office with seemingly simple symptoms: palpitations, dizziness, cold sweats. And we discovered that the culprit was breakfast, a coffee prepared in the wrong way, full of additives and hidden sugars, capable of generating a huge hormonal confusion. The human body was not made to deal with daily peaks and drops in glucose. Every time this happens, small inflammations form on the walls of the vessels. It's something invisible but constant. This process, called glycation, is one of the main responsible for the premature aging of tissues and the loss of arterial elasticity. And guess what accelerates this? Excess sugar in the blood, even coming from natural things. Therefore, the real secret is not to eliminate coffee, nor to live in fear of sugar, but to understand the reaction that each combination causes in your body. There is a simple, safe, and scientifically proven way to make coffee an ally of metabolism, and that's what I'm going to show you now. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover what is the natural ingredient that changes the way coffee is absorbed, and that has the power to reduce the glucose spike almost immediately, even in elderly people. And the best part, it's something you probably already have at home. In the next block, I'm going to reveal the real villain of coffee, and the ingredient that can neutralize it almost instantly. The villain revealed. The sugar disguised in your coffee. The real villain of your breakfast is not coffee. It's what you put inside it. And often, the enemy is not in the spoonful of white sugar. It hides in calorie-free sweeteners, in vegetable milks, in industrialized creams, and even in that touch of honey that seems harmless. These products are what I call disguised sugars. Compounds that, even without having an intense sweet taste, provoke the same effect of a spoonful of refined sugar inside your body. They make the pancreas release insulin in an exaggerated way, generating peaks and abrupt drops in glucose, the perfect terrain for fatigue, irritability, and weight gain. The human body, especially after 60, becomes more sensitive to insulin. This means that even small doses of sugar or certain artificial sweeteners can cause disproportionate reactions. Insulin is a powerful hormone. It opens the doors of the cells so that sugar enters and is used as energy. But when the body is repeatedly exposed to these spikes, the cells become resistant, forcing the pancreas to produce more and more. And that's where the silent cycle that destroys the metabolism begins. Over time, the pancreas becomes exhausted. The sugar no longer enters the cells. It stays circulating in the blood, and the body tries to compensate by converting the excess into fat, especially around the abdomen and liver. It's the direct path to the so-called metabolic syndrome, a set of conditions that includes high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and increased risk of heart attack and type 2 diabetes. But the most worrying thing is that this may be happening to you even if your blood sugar test seems normal, because the damage starts before the blood sugar rises. They start when insulin is constantly high, and this, unfortunately, does not appear in routine exams. And where does coffee come in all this? Coffee by itself is not the villain, but it is the perfect vehicle for these hidden sugars to enter the body in an even more aggressive way. Caffeine stimulates the release of adrenaline, which increases circulation and makes everything you ingested, including sugar, be absorbed faster. Therefore, what you add to your cup makes all the difference. A simple touch of honey in hot coffee, for example, loses its beneficial enzymes and turns into a liquid of pure glucose. An industrialized vegetable milk, full of thickeners and maltodextrin, raises glucose more than a spoonful of common sugar. And even artificial sweeteners like sucralose or aspartame can alter the intestinal microbiota, reducing sensitivity to insulin and worsening the control of blood sugar. The result is the same. Coffee ceases to be a natural stimulant and becomes an inflammatory cocktail. But there is an antidote, a natural, accessible, and safe ingredient that, when added to coffee, reduces the glycemic impact almost immediately. It acts as a kind of metabolic brake, slowing down the absorption of sugars and protecting the pancreas from exaggerated effort. And no, it's not cinnamon, although cinnamon also helps. What I'm about to reveal to you is something even more powerful, that works in synergy with caffeine to balance the metabolism and stabilize energy throughout the day. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain how this natural ingredient acts inside the body, what it does with glucose, and why so many recent clinical studies have shown surprising results, especially in people over 60. In the next block, I'm going to show you step by step what happens inside the body when coffee meets this ingredient. Prepare to understand the process like never before. What happens inside your body when coffee meets the right ingredient? Imagine the following. You drink your coffee in the morning. The hot liquid travels through the esophagus, reaches the stomach, and in a few seconds, begins to be absorbed. If it's a common, sweetened coffee, the sugar enters the bloodstream quickly, and the body reacts with a discharge of insulin. It's a chemical explosion. The liver releases glucose, the pancreas works at an accelerated pace, and the vessels need to deal with a thicker flow. Now imagine the same scene, but with a small spoonful of natural soluble fiber added to the coffee. Something simple like inulin or psyllium, for example. What changes is impressive. Instead of the sugar being absorbed abruptly, This fiber acts like a microscopic sponge. It mixes with the liquid, creates a light gelatinous barrier in the intestine, and slows down the passage of glucose into the blood. The result? The body gains time. The pancreas doesn't panic, insulin is released in a balanced way, and glucose remains stable for hours. You feel constant energy, mental clarity, and a light well-being, without that sudden fatigue or tremor that comes after a sugar spike. This process seems simple, but behind it there is a biochemical orchestra of precision. The soluble fiber is composed of molecules that are not digested in the stomach. They arrive intact in the intestine and join with water, forming a gel that holds the carbohydrates. By doing this, they alter the glycemic index of the entire coffee, transforming a potentially aggressive drink for the body into a metabolic protector. Meanwhile, the liver, which is the great internal laboratory of the organism, receives less glucose at once. This avoids overload and allows it to process the sugar more efficiently, converting it into energy instead of fat. Blood pressure also thanks you, because the blood becomes less viscous. And there is an additional benefit that almost no one mentions. The fibers that remain in the intestine serve as food for the beneficial bacteria of the intestinal flora. And these bacteria, in turn, produce short-chain fatty acids, compounds that reduce inflammation, strengthen immunity, and further improve sensitivity to insulin. It's as if, by adding this simple ingredient to coffee, you created a chain of positive reactions inside the body. The intestine works better, the liver is relieved, the heart pumps with less effort, and the brain receives stable energy without the oscillations that cause mental confusion and drowsiness. And the most curious thing is that all this happens without changing the taste of the coffee. It remains the same, strong, aromatic, and pleasurable. But internally, the effect is completely different. The aged body, which already suffers from metabolic slowness and resistance to insulin, begins to function with more harmony. In recent years, research conducted in universities in Europe and the United States has shown that people over 60 who started consuming soluble fibers daily, along with coffee, had average reductions of up to 20% in post-meal glucose levels. This is the equivalent of the effect of some mild medications, only in a natural way, without overloading the kidneys and liver. Therefore, when I say that a simple addition to coffee can change your metabolism, it's not a metaphor. It's science. The body understands this gesture as a relief. It's as if you said, "Calm down, there's no urgency. The sugar can enter little by little, and the result is balance, focus, and less inflammation." In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why this mechanism becomes even more important after 60, when the body loses elasticity, hydration, and hormonal response. You'll understand why what was once just a custom, breakfast, can become a real watershed in the health of the heart and blood. In the next block, I'm going to explain why the risk of glucose spikes increases so much after 60, and how aging changes the behavior of insulin in the body. Why the risk increases after 60 years. When you reach 60 years old, the body not only ages on the outside, it changes deeply on the inside. The arteries become less elastic, the liver loses part of its efficiency, and the metabolism slows down, like an engine that has already run millions of kilometers. That's why, even maintaining the same eating and exercise habits as when they were younger, many elderly people begin to notice an increase in glucose, blood pressure, and cholesterol. The problem is that the body, over time, loses its ability to adapt. Each cell in your body depends on insulin receptors, small doors that allow sugar to enter and be used as energy. But as the years pass, these doors rust. They no longer open so easily. And when this happens, the pancreas needs to produce more and more insulin to force the entry of glucose. This continuous effort is like trying to open a stuck lock by pushing the key hard. It works for a while, but it wears down the mechanism. The pancreas begins to tire and sugar begins to circulate in the blood for longer. It's the beginning of insulin resistance, one of the biggest causes of cardiovascular and metabolic diseases in old age. Another important factor is the loss of muscle mass. Muscle is the main consumer of glucose in the body. When you lose muscle, you also lose the main sugar burner. And this happens naturally with aging, especially in those who lead a more sedentary life. Therefore, a body with less muscle has more difficulty in stabilizing glucose, even eating little. Dehydration also enters this equation. The elderly body contains less water, and the blood, more concentrated, becomes thicker. This denser blood transports sugar more slowly, increasing the risk of microclots and hindering the work of the heart. The result is a vicious circle. The heart pumps harder, the arteries suffer microfissures, and the body responds with inflammation, the same process that accelerates aging. And there is still the role of hormones. After 60, the production of hormones such as estrogen, testosterone, and DHEA falls significantly. These hormones help regulate glucose metabolism and maintain sensitivity to insulin. Without them, the body begins to store more fat, mainly in the abdominal region, and the metabolism becomes slower. That's why that spare tire that was once just aesthetic is now dangerous. It's not just fat, it's a metabolically active tissue, which releases inflammatory substances and further hinders the action of insulin. It's what we call silent inflammation, and it's the backdrop of practically all chronic diseases of aging. Therefore, coffee, which seems like something so small, can be a powerful ally if used in the right way. When you add an ingredient that slows down the absorption of glucose, you give the body the time it needs to react with balance. And this is especially vital after 60, when every minute counts in the process of absorption and insulin response. This time control is what separates the healthy metabolism from the unregulated one. It's the difference between a morning of energy and a morning of fatigue. And it's the reason why the same coffee, taken in different ways, can heal or cause damage. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how the body signals when sugar is getting out of control, even before it appears in an exam. They are subtle symptoms, almost invisible, but which serve as clear warnings that the pancreas and liver are asking for help. In the next block, I'm going to reveal the main warning signs that the body emits when blood sugar begins to get out of balance, and what each of them really means. The warning signs that the body sends. The body always warns before getting sick. It speaks in the form of fatigue, dizziness, sudden hunger, or forgetfulness. But in the rush of everyday life, even in old age, most people ignore these signs, thinking it's a thing of age. But the organism is wise. It doesn't lie. Each symptom is a message, and when it comes to blood sugar, these messages are clear, but silent. One of the first signs is constant thirst. Even drinking water, you feel your mouth dry. This happens because the body tries to dilute the excess sugar in the blood, using the water from the tissues. It's an effort to balance something that is out of control. The problem is that this loss of liquid makes the blood thicker and impairs circulation, especially in the legs and feet, where the flow is already naturally slower. Another sign is the urge to urinate several times a day or at night. This is not just a matter of bladder. It's the body trying to eliminate the excess sugar through urine. That's why many elderly people wake up several times during the night to go to the bathroom and then feel an inexplicable fatigue in the morning. Blurred vision is also an early warning. High sugar alters the balance of liquids inside the eye, changing the shape of the lens. This process is reversible in the beginning, but over time it can lead to permanent damage, including cataracts and diabetic retinopathy. And there is still a symptom that almost no one associates with sugar: heavy sleep right after breakfast. The person drinks coffee, feels energy for a few minutes, and then comes that weight, that drowsiness, difficult to understand. This is the body reacting to a glucose spike and the abrupt drop that comes right after. It's as if the brain shuts down for lack of fuel. Other common signs include tingling in the hands and feet, hair loss, difficulty healing, and even sudden mood changes. All these symptoms have the same origin. Excess glucose causes inflammation in the nerves, vessels, and cells. The body tries to defend itself, but with each sugar spike, the defenses are depleted a little more. There is also a type of fatigue that does not improve with rest. The patient sleeps well, but wakes up as if he had worked all night. This is one of the clearest signs that the body is dealing with glycemic instability. While sleeping, the organism struggles to stabilize sugar and restore energy levels. As a cardiologist, I have seen many cases in which the first indication of glycemic imbalance was the blood pressure oscillating for no apparent reason, sometimes high, sometimes low. This happens because sugar affects the wall of the vessels, interfering with their ability to dilate and contract. And when the arteries lose this flexibility, The heart needs to pump harder. That's how the pressure rises. If you are feeling any of these symptoms, don't ignore them. They are the way the body has to ask for help. And the good news is that when the problem is detected early, the balance can be restored, often without medication, only with intelligent adjustments in the routine. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to start this reversal in a natural and safe way, using the power of the right foods. And coffee, when prepared in the correct way, can be your greatest ally in this change. In the next block, I'm going to reveal the natural strategies to reverse this imbalance, and how to balance blood sugar without depending on medications. How to reverse and balance naturally. The first thing that every elderly person needs to understand is that there is no miracle, but there is a method. The body, even aged, is still capable of restoring balance when you offer the right conditions. And the good news is that this does not require extreme diets or expensive medications, only small intelligent changes that respect the natural rhythm of the organism. The basis of everything is to control the speed with which sugar enters the bloodstream. And that's where coffee, used in the right way, becomes a powerful ally. Adding soluble fibers to coffee, such as inulin, psyllium, or even a spoonful of fine oatmeal, is one of the most effective and safe strategies to stabilize glucose. These fibers form a shield in the intestine, reducing the speed of digestion and avoiding the sugar spikes that overload the pancreas. Another alternative is the use of true cinnamon powder, Ceylon. It contains bioactive compounds such as cinnamaldehyde, which increases the sensitivity of cells to insulin and helps the body to better use glucose. A pinch in the coffee, in addition to enhancing the flavor, acts as a natural regulator of the metabolism, especially when consumed before or along with meals. But it's not just what goes into the cup that matters. The morning routine needs to be adjusted. Avoid drinking coffee right after waking up on an empty stomach. This is because, after sleep, the levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, are higher, which naturally raises blood sugar. The ideal is to consume something light before coffee, such as a slice of avocado, some nuts, or a boiled egg. This creates a base in the stomach and prevents the abrupt glycemic spike. In addition, hydration is fundamental. Thick and dehydrated blood transports sugar more slowly, impairing the regulation of blood sugar. Drink a glass of warm water right after waking up and another before coffee. This simple gesture helps the liver and kidneys to function better. Another essential step is movement. Walking 10 to 15 minutes after breakfast makes the muscles use part of the glucose that is circulating in the blood. This reduces the spike and improves sensitivity to insulin throughout the day. Studies show that even light movements, such as tidying up the house or watering the plants, have a positive effect. And perhaps the most important point, reduce the fear of natural food. Many elderly people move away from good foods because of fads or distorted information. Fruits such as apple, strawberry, papaya, and kiwi, when consumed in moderation, provide fibers and antioxidants that help the body to deal with glucose. The secret is to combine these foods with good fats, olive oil, avocado, nuts, that slow down the absorption of sugar. Reversing the imbalance of glucose is not about cutting everything, it's about restoring balance. And coffee, used with intelligence, can be the starting point. A coffee with fiber and cinnamon, taken after a small meal and followed by a few minutes of movement, creates a perfect biochemical sequence. The body receives energy, the pancreas works in peace, and the blood flows with lightness. In my consultations, I have seen patients over 70 years old reduce their glucose levels in just 30 days with simple adjustments like this. And the most beautiful thing is to see that the body responds. It wants balance, not restriction. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to transform this knowledge into a daily protocol, easy to follow, without exaggerations and without risks. A step-by-step that anyone can apply at home to protect the heart, control sugar, and maintain vitality even after 60. In the next block, I'm going to reveal the practical daily protocol, the ritual that transforms coffee into a protective shield of the blood and heart. The practical daily protocol. Over the years, I realized that the patients who improve the most are not those who take more medications, but those who transform care into a ritual. The difference is in the constancy, not in the hurry. The body likes predictability, schedules, rhythms, and repetitions that make it feel safe. That's why I created a simple protocol, which anyone can adopt at home, especially those who are over 60 and want to protect the heart, pancreas, and blood. 1. Upon waking, before thinking about coffee, drink a glass of warm water. This is the starting signal of your organism. It awakens the liver, hydrates the blood, and prepares the digestive system. Wait 2 or 3 minutes, and only then start the morning ritual. 2. Break the fast with something light and natural. It can be half an avocado with a pinch of chia or a small handful of nuts. This small base of fat and fiber slows down the absorption of coffee and sugar that comes after. 3. The intelligent coffee. Prepare your coffee in the way you prefer, strained, espresso, or filter, but add a spoonful of soluble fiber, such as inulin or psyllium. Stir well until dissolved. Then, put half a spoonful of Ceylon cinnamon and, if desired, a drop of pure stevia. Avoid artificial sweeteners. This transforms common coffee into a natural regulator of glucose. 4. The moment of consumption. Avoid drinking coffee all at once. Take small sips while performing your morning tasks. This allows the body to absorb caffeine and glucose gradually, keeping energy stable for hours. 5. Light movement. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes after coffee. It can be inside the house, in the yard, or on a quick walk around the block. This simple movement helps the muscles to pull glucose from the blood, reducing the post-coffee spike. 6. Rehydration throughout the day. Thick blood is the enemy of glycemic balance. Always have a bottle of water nearby, and try to drink a glass every hour and a half. Remember, when the body is well hydrated, the blood flows more lightly, and the heart works with less effort. 7. Eating with purpose. Prioritize foods with a low glycemic index. Green vegetables, eggs, olive oil, lean meats, and whole grains in small portions, and avoid mixing many simple carbohydrates in a single meal. Bread, rice, and potatoes on the same plate are a glucose bomb. 8. The second coffee of the day, optional. If you like to drink another cup in the afternoon, maintain the same pattern, coffee with fiber and cinnamon. Just avoid after 5 p.m. so as not to interfere with sleep. Insomnia in the elderly is often linked to late consumption of caffeine. 9. The night rest. Sleep early. During sleep, the body regulates sugar levels and repairs cells. Going to sleep always at the same time helps the pancreas and liver to enter into rhythm. The quality of sleep is a silent medicine, and free. Following this routine for 30 days, the body begins to respond. Glucose stabilizes, energy returns, and the heart thanks you. Coffee ceases to be just a custom and becomes a tool for longevity. And remember, the secret is not to do everything at once, but to start with one detail. Choose one of these steps and apply it tomorrow. The body perceives the gesture and responds. In the next few minutes, I'm going to leave you with a final message, not as a doctor, but as someone who believes in the power of small changes, because each sip of coffee can be an act of destruction or reconstruction. In the next block, I'm going to end with a symbolic and human message, what the heart tries to tell us when sugar is out of balance. The doctor's final message. The heart is the only organ that never stops working, from the first to the last day of your life. It pulsates, in silence, every second, asking for only one thing in return: balance. And when blood sugar gets out of control, it's as if the heart tried to speak louder, asking for help through the symptoms that many call normal of age. But there is nothing normal in living tired, with dizziness, oscillating blood pressure, or sleep without rest. This is the body trying to wake you up. I usually say to my patients, the body is wise, but we have unlearned to listen to it. We spend decades treating fatigue with sweetened coffee, sadness with sweets, boredom with carbohydrates, and we call this routine. But every routine can be rewritten. Sometimes just a small gesture is enough to change the direction of an entire life. When you add something natural and intelligent to your coffee, you are not just stirring the drink. You are sending a message inside yourself. I still care. This simple attitude awakens a silent current of healing. The body feels, reacts, and thanks you. The pancreas rests. The blood flows more lightly. The brain clears. And the heart, which for so long fought alone, finally breathes in peace. Modern medicine confirms what ancient wisdom already said. Healing begins in habits. Not in miraculous formulas, but in the decisions you repeat every day. That's why I insist so much that breakfast is not just a meal. It's the moment when you define the rhythm of the whole day. If you start with balance, the body will follow in harmony. And don't be fooled. Age is not an enemy. It is the opportunity to do better, with more awareness and serenity. At 60, 70, 80 years old, the body still responds, the blood still renews itself, and the heart still wants to live. It just needs you to listen to it, respect it, and feed it with choices that make sense. So, tomorrow morning, when you go to prepare your coffee, remember this moment. Don't see the cup as an automatic routine, but as a small ritual of care. Add what balances and remove what overloads. A simple gesture, repeated every day, can mean fewer medications, fewer consultations, and more life. If you have come this far, it's because you care about your health, and your heart knows that. It feels every positive change, even the smallest ones, and when the body understands that it is being cared for, it returns with energy, vitality, and peace. I am Dr. Richard Hale, a cardiologist trained at Harvard and the Mayo Clinic, and I leave here my final advice. Never underestimate the power of a well-made habit. Now tell me in the comments, so I know that you really understood the message of this video. Write the word heart. This way I will know that you have decided to take care of your body with awareness, and that from today, even your coffee will serve your health, and not against it. Because the secret of longevity is not in stopping time, but in making time work in your favor.